1985, Los Angeles was sweltering under an oppressive 100 degrees plus heat wave. Yet the city's residents kept their windows shut. A serial killer was on the loose. There was no pattern to the killings. Every murder seemed random, most in different areas of the city. No one was safe.
This was a guy that would go to a neighborhood during sleeping hours, enter a home, and then commit these violent crimes.
Never before had I experienced in my life, nor have I experienced anything like it since that time. The citizens of Los Angeles County were living in fear. They were living in terror.
Some residents even moved out of the city, but even that was no guarantee of safety. The killer left town as well. He stole a car and headed 300 miles north to San Francisco. On August 18th, the Night Stalker got on the freeway and did what he had been doing for months. At 2 a.m., he crept into the home of a Taiwanese couple. He shot 66-year-old Peter Pan in the head and sexually assaulted his 62-year-old wife, Barbara. She resisted, and he shot her in the head as well. Back in Los Angeles, investigators were alerted to the San Francisco murder.
We got a phone call from Glendale Police Department. One of their officers had heard about a case in San Francisco on the radio. We called San Francisco, spoke with homicide investigators. They told us what they had.
The San Francisco killer had used a handgun of the same caliber as some of the LA murders. And like the Night Stalker, he had left a satanic signature for investigators to find. A pentagram drawn on the wall.
We flew up immediately. They took us to the crime scene, reviewed it. After sitting down with them, looking at the crime scene photos, looking at the crime scene, comparing notes, and totally briefing them on what our cases were. There was no doubt in our mind the cases were connected.
That startling news was passed up to the mayor of San Francisco, who called a press conference to alert the city.
He's someone that will go into a home at night and will kill, and kills at random. Children, women, and men. And it's a very serious situation. There's a $10,000 reward for any information which can lead to his arrest and conviction.
Along with setting up a reward, the mayor released confidential information vital to the Night Stalker case. Investigators in Los Angeles were furious.
It places this community in jeopardy because it impedes our ability to go forward fully with the investigation.
She gave the public all of our intimate details, the type of gun used, the caliber, the shoe print, everything that only the killer and the investigators would know.
If I were a criminal, I would go and destroy that evidence as quickly as I could.
And that's exactly what the Night Stalker did. Shortly after the mayor's press conference, he walked onto the Golden Gate Bridge and tossed his shoes and gun into the San Francisco Bay. He then drove back to Los Angeles. But now, the City of Angels had mobilized to hunt down the demon in its midst.
Can you describe what he looked like?
Anyone who looked like the Night Stalker was reported to the police. But the real Night Stalker stayed out of sight. He was holed up in his hotel room, watching the news reports.
He was paying attention to the investigation, but I'm sure that he was feeling quite good about the fact that everybody was wondering who he was.
Regardless of the manhunt, the Night Stalker headed out into the LA night once more. On August 24th, just 1 week after the San Francisco murder, he stole a car again, and this time headed south to Mission Viejo. He entered the home of a young couple, shot the man, sexually assaulted his girlfriend, and vanished into the shadows.
Police today continue to search for any clues in the near-fatal shooting of 29-year-old William Carnes and the rape of his girlfriend. They're apparently the latest victims of the Night Stalker, thought to be responsible now for 34 brutal attacks, 14 of them fatal.
I am very frightened because this usually does not go on in a quiet neighborhood like Mission Viejo. So I will not leave my windows and doors open anymore. It's frightening.
With the growing hysteria, the Night Stalker decided to get out of town again. He took a Greyhound bus to Arizona, but finally, investigators got a break. Unknown to the Night Stalker, as he cruised toward the scene of his latest crime, he'd been spotted by a teenager fixing his bike on his front lawn.
This kid went to his parents. The parents went to the police. The police suddenly had the license plate number of the car the guy was in. Every single cop in Los Angeles looked for that car, and they found it.
After towing the car to the police lab, technicians went over every inch, searching for prints. They were about to give up when a technician dusted the back of the hand mirror. There was a latent print of someone's left index finger.
Back in the early 80s, prior to APHIS, fingerprints were kept on cards. When people were arrested, their fingerprints were obtained and placed on what we call these 10-print cards. And these cards were stored in cabinets.
Finding a matching fingerprint in those cabinets was like looking for a needle in a haystack, but investigators caught another break.
At that time, a single fingerprint system was being developed and going online in the state of California. You could enter a single latent fingerprint and get a hit if the individual qualified to be in the system.
Investigators requested that the Night Stalker fingerprint be run through the new system. It was flown to Sacramento.
When the request came, of course, we all had a sense of one, trepidation, and two, excitement, because one, if you didn't identify it, it might suggest that the system didn't work. If you did identify it, of course, it'd be a tremendous thing.
As the fingerprint technicians worked to find a match using the new system, detectives in Los Angeles and San Francisco were pursuing other leads.
As a result of all the publicity this case generated, an individual came forward through his daughter, and he told his daughter about an individual that he had befriended by the name of Richard. Some of the things he told him was that he committed a murder. Gave him enough details that there was no doubt in our mind that he was talking to the real killer. He only knew him by Richard.
In San Francisco, investigators recovered a piece of jewelry taken from the Pan's apartment. When the police asked the source who he got the jewelry from, he gave them the name Ramirez.
After we got the name Richard Ramirez, the full name, then that latent fingerprint was physically checked against the Richard Ramirez's that had been arrested in the state of California. That's how that fingerprint was finally made.
The next day in Sacramento, a fingerprint match was found.
It came back with very high scores, so DOJ knew that the print belongs to Richard Ramirez.
Within hours, millions of people in Los Angeles and across the country knew the real name of the Night Stalker and what he looked like.
6'1", 155 pounds. This photograph was taken about 8 months ago and right here in Los Angeles.
But even though everyone knew who the Night Stalker was, one question remained. Could they catch him?